You are watching A News. I'm Bakhtiar Sanov, and let's see the top stories. A California judge has ordered the Trump administration to reinstate thousands of fired federal employees. Turkey reaffirmed its commitment to supporting Ukraine's reconstruction efforts and strengthening economic and trade ties. The second day of the 12th Baku Forum kicks off today. Leaders tackle peace and energy challenges. A California judge has ordered the reinstatement of thousands of recently fired federal employees. The ruling is seen as the most significant challenge yet to U.S. President Donald Trump and his advisor Elon Musk's efforts to drastically reduce the federal workforce. A California judge has ordered the Trump administration to reinstate thousands of recently hired employees who were fired as part of President Donald Trump's purge of the federal workforce. About 25,000 workers across the U.S. government have been fired since the 5th of March, according to a Reuters tally, and another 75,000 have taken a buyout. The decision applies to probationary employees at 6 major U.S. agencies: the Departments of Defense, Veterans Affairs, Agriculture, Energy, Interior, and the Treasury. According to the ruling, the Office of Personnel Management overstepped its authority by directing these agencies to dismiss employees without proper justification. The judge says the agencies did not have the power to implement such terminations in the manner that was carried out. Under federal regulations, probationary employees can only be dismissed for performance-related reasons. The White House and the affected agencies have yet to respond to the ruling. The timing of the decision is particularly significant as it coincides with the deadline for agencies to submit plans for a second wave of layoffs. This ruling could potentially disrupt those plans and force a reconsideration of the administration's strategy for downsizing the federal workforce. Hundreds of protesters staged a sit-in inside Trump Tower in New York on Thursday. It was against the arrest of Columbia University student facing deportation over his pro-Palestinian activism. The Trump administration seeks to deport Mahmoud Khalil, sparking backlash from lawmakers, UN officials, and civil rights groups. Jewish Voice for Peace carried out the demonstration. Authorities say 98 protesters were arrested. Russian President Vladimir Putin said he agrees with the proposal for a ceasefire with Ukraine, but that it should lead to an enduring peace. Speaking following a meeting with his Belarusian colleague in Moscow, Putin said that the peace deal should remove underlying causes of the crisis. Putin said negotiations with American partners are necessary, asking who would decide where a possible violation of a ceasefire has taken place and who is at fault. Kiev accepted Washington's proposal and agreed on a 30-day ceasefire during the U.S.-Ukraine talks in Jeddah on Tuesday. Putin's remarks come as U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff is reportedly in Moscow for talks with Russian officials about the Ukraine war.
Мы согласны с предложениями прекратить боевые действия.
We agree with the proposals to stop the military actions, but our position is that the cessation should be such that it would lead to long-term peace and eliminate the initial causes of this crisis.
Первоначальные причины этого кризиса. Сама по себе идея правильная, и мы, безусловно, ее поддерживаем.
The idea itself is good, and we certainly support it. But there are issues that we must discuss. And I think that we need to talk to our American colleagues and partners about this. Maybe call President Trump and discuss this together.
However, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says that Russia is setting too many conditions to prevent a ceasefire from happening. It's after President Vladimir Putin says that a ceasefire should lead to an enduring peace and remove the root causes of the crisis. Zelensky says that Ukraine is ready for a comprehensive peace plan with United States and European support for verification and control of the ceasefire.
Американська пропозиція.
There was an American proposal for an unconditional ceasefire in the air, at sea, and on the front lines. We in Ukraine accepted this proposal. From the American side, we heard that there is a readiness to organize control and verification. This is possible to ensure with America's possibilities and Europe's capabilities. The ceasefire would give time to prepare answers to all questions regarding long-term security and a real, reliable peace, and to put on the table a plan to end the war.
Turkey has reaffirmed its commitment to supporting Ukraine's reconstruction efforts and strengthening economic and trade ties between the two nations. Trade Minister Ömer Bolat visited Kiev for high-level discussions with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Turkey says it's ready to help rebuild Ukraine. Turkey's Trade Minister Ömer Bolat visited Kiev on Thursday. Accompanied by a delegation of Turkish contractors, they met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to discuss the future of economic and trade relations between the two nations. The discussion centered on developing a roadmap for enhanced cooperation, with a key focus on Ukraine's post-war reconstruction efforts. Minister Bolat says Turkey is also ready to activate the free trade agreement between the two countries and leverage the expertise of Turkish contractors to aid Ukraine's rebuilding process. Bolat also says Turkey is determined to reach the $10 billion trade volume target, a goal previously set by Presidents Zelensky and Recep Tayyip Erdogan. The first meeting of this initiative marks a significant step forward in collaborative rebuilding efforts. With Turkey's extensive experience in infrastructure development, the partnership aims to accelerate Ukraine's recovery while fostering stronger economic ties between the two nations. The first bilateral summit between the European Union and South Africa in Cape Town in 7 years called for Russia-Ukraine peace ahead of President Volodymyr Zelensky's visit next month. Thursday's talks also focused on strengthening economic ties, supporting Ukraine's peace process, and fostering cooperation between the EU and South Africa.
European Union leaders met in South Africa on Thursday to discuss how best to support a potential peace agreement between Russia and Ukraine. It's ahead of a visit to South Africa from Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky next month. His trip is seen as a pivotal moment to advance the peace process and deepen Ukraine's relations with South Africa and the wider African continent.
The people of Ukraine, and indeed the people of Russia, need more peace than anyone else in the world. And our task is to urge them, to encourage them, to nudge them in the way of finding a peaceful solution. That will be our key message as President Zelensky comes here. And indeed, I should add that we continue to send the same message to President Putin, as we believe that both countries, both of them, are the key role players in this, and all of us others who are on the side can just encourage them to move forward with the peace process.
The summit in Cape Town also focused on strengthening EU-South Africa ties amid rising global tensions. The EU's Commission President, Ursula von der Leyen, announced a $5 billion investment package for South Africa to support its low-carbon transition and industrial growth.
The European Union is South Africa's largest trading partner. We are launching now negotiations on a new generation of trade deal. We call it a clean trade and investment partnership. And South Africa will be the first to sign such an agreement. Basically, it is focusing on investment in clean energy transition, from hydrogen to renewable, you name it.
South Africa is the bloc's largest trading partner in sub-Saharan Africa, and South Africa receives direct investment from the EU as they look to strengthen their relationship during global uncertainties.
Angola plans to hold potential peace talks between the Democratic Republic of Congo and the M23 rebels next week. However, the government hasn't officially confirmed that it will participate. It follows the announcement that 1,000 African forces are withdrawing from eastern Congo.
The Democratic Republic of Congo's potential peace talks with M23 rebels have sparked mixed reactions in Kinshasa and Bukavu. Angola plans to host the negotiations next week, marking the first direct talks between Congo and M23 rebels. While the government hasn't confirmed participation, sources say the proposal is under serious consideration. In Kinshasa, some question the value of discussions.
The president decided years ago, quote, "I will never dialogue with dogs. I will never dialogue with thieves, killers." And today, when he agrees to dialogue with these people he had described in this way, where are we going? Why he has accepted, and what will it bring to the life of the Congolese people? It's a dialogue that hasn't brought anything for a long time.
This year, the rebel group took control of Goma and Bukavu, which saw thousands of people being killed. Hundreds of thousands of people have fled their homes because of the violence. For some of those in Bukavu, they believe the only hope for peace is through dialogue.
As Africans, when there are problems, people from the same family sit around a table and discuss to find solutions. This is why we call on all warring parties to sit around a table and talk about Congo, to talk as Congolese, about the problems that are currently ours. We hope, therefore, since dialogues are already underway, the population will be relieved and that we can finally live in the peace we seek so much.
Meanwhile, it's reported that the M23 group says it welcomes the talks, but urges the DRC president, Felix Tshisekedi, to commit publicly. He's always refused to engage in negotiations with the group in the past. It comes as the Southern African Development Community prepares to withdraw its troops from Congo. They have spent 2 years supporting the Congolese army to fight the rebel group.
Turkey's foreign minister, defense minister, and head of the MIT intelligence agency visited Damascus on Thursday, following the recent developments in Syria. The trip comes after violence between Syria's government forces backed by Turkey and fighters loyal to ousted President Bashar al-Assad's Alawite minority. It also follows an agreement between the Syrian government and the US-backed Syrian Democratic Forces to integrate the Kurdish-led group into Syria's institutions. The deal includes the transfer of control over military and civilian institutions, border crossings, an airport, and oil fields in the northeastern Syria. It's day 2 of the Global Baku Forum, following a dynamic opening that laid the groundwork for key discussions on energy security, sustainability, and global diplomacy. Today's agenda is filled with high-level panels, including a pivotal discussion on the path to peace, featuring former leaders from Ukraine, Israel, Croatia, and Montenegro. Reporting from the venue, here is Guy Sean with more.
Well, a very good morning on day 2 of the Global Baku Forum. The event kicked off yesterday with a powerful speech from President Aliyev of Azerbaijan. He spoke of the success of COP29, the legacy of the Baku breakthrough, and highlighted the importance of green energy to the country and, more widely, the increasing role Azerbaijan is playing in providing energy security to a wide range of European countries. Well, after a packed day of debate, discussions and panel sessions, delegates attended a gala dinner and award ceremony last night at Gulistan Palace, where UNESCO's Goodwill Ambassador Kim Puk-Pan-Tee became the recipient of the Nizami Ganjavi International Award for 2025. Well, looking ahead to today's agenda, and coming up shortly will be a panel discussion called Path to Peace, involving the former president of Croatia, former prime minister of Israel, and the former presidents of Ukraine Montenegro, plus the president of the 72nd session of the United Nations General Assembly. A stellar list of distinguished leaders, all focused on the architecture and underpinnings of creating lasting peace. Well, later this afternoon, there will also be a speech by the chairwoman of the presidency of Bosnia and Herzegovina, Shelka Cijanovic. She made those very powerful statements yesterday against prevailing attitudes of colonialism. So this will be a very interesting one to watch. Well, the panel sessions today really are packed with people who have vast amounts of experience of statesmanship and creating real solutions to complex geopolitical problems. The A News team will be tracking these conversations, interviewing the decision makers and keeping you all up to date at every step of the way. So please stay with A News throughout the day as we continue our exclusive coverage of the Global Baku Forum.
As global transaction-based approaches gain popularity, the changing role of the European Union is becoming increasingly significant. On the sidelines of the Global Baku Forum, former European Council President Charles Michel shared his insights in an exclusive interview with A News on EU's economic, security and strategic partnership views.
Your Excellency, a more transaction approach is becoming growingly popular among the countries across the globe. What role do you see for the EU on this backdrop?
I think that the EU has an important role to play because the EU has to develop its economy. It's also to develop its capabilities in the field of security and defense to have more influence, a more positive influence. But I think that what is important on the EU side is to build good and strategic partnerships. This is what we need to develop in the future. And when I was in charge as President of the European Council, I tried to do my best to connect the European Union on other parts of the world. I have also the impression that in the future, regional organizations will have a more prominent role to play, because on the one hand, those regional organizations, they can help for more convergence, also help to play a more active role to prevent conflicts and to solve conflicts and to provide solutions. On the one hand, they can also help in the field of prosperity, economic development, shared in investments. And I think that in the future, for a more efficient multilateralism, for the benefit of a multipolar world, we need more effective regional organizations.
Still at the Global Baku Forum, former Georgian President Georgi Margvelashvili shared his insights on the shifting balance of power in the South Caucasus and what to expect in the coming month.
Your Excellency, with the global situation becoming more and more complicated, what is at stake for the South Caucasus?
Well, first of all, let me just state that we are once again in Baku. We are excited to be here. Once again, this is one of the most well-organized and managed forums. And I guess your question is something that we would be more educated to answer in a couple of days, because exactly those issues are something that we are going to decide and talk and elaborate about in the days to come. But let me tell you, yeah, of course, now the top priority for the world politics, it is US, Russia, Ukraine process and negotiations, and we will see how this will evolve in the months and weeks to come. But the decisions that will be taken there, of course, they will influence the balance of powers in this region and the relationships which we have in the Caucasus. I would say that the most secure country in the Caucasus at this point is Azerbaijan, because they have their clear policy and they have their clear allies. But much more has to be discussed and seen about Georgian, Russian and Armenian-Russian relationships. We will, unfortunately, I cannot give you the answer. The process is basically very ominous. We'll see how it will develop. But approach me in a couple of days, and I hope that through these discussions I'll be able to answer you more.
As the world navigates complex geopolitical shifts, some argue that today's challenges mirror those of the late 1980s and early 1990s. But former Romanian Prime Minister Petre Roman sees differences. Speaking to A News at the Global Baku Forum, he reflects on the end of the Cold War and the rise of nationalism today.
Your Excellency, on the current political backdrop around the world, some argue that the times we're living now are similar to what we had in the end of 80s and beginning of 90s. Do you think that's true? What are the similarities there, and what are the differences?
No, there are, I would say, large differences. I was myself living in those times. It was a time of deep revolution, of deep change. You know. The era of the Cold War was ending, and a great, huge hope was emerging. All the peoples which were formerly under the Soviet domination, now all of them thought the freedom finally arrived. There were great expectations. But now the post-Cold War era, which was, as I said, a period of great expectations and hope, and now this era is also coming to an end. What we see is a resurgence of very nationalistic views, because the feeling that even I would say the global politics leaning towards let's say maximalizing the globalism approach was disregarding a very deep, profound fact, the mental of the people, the fact that people belong to something, and namely they belong to their country. And now we see that many people are embracing, democratically or not, are embracing a new feeling, a new emotion, a new, I would say, even pulse, pressure to regain their identity.
The deadly bird flu virus has breached Antarctica. Scientists confirm that H5N1 is in skua birds. This is the furthest south it has ever been recorded. Experts warn it threatens biodiversity, including marine mammals.
Skua bird mortality in Antarctica has reached alarming levels, as scientists confirm the highly pathogenic avian influenza has breached one of the planet's lost untouched frontiers. A joint study by the Pontifical Catholic University of Chile and the Base Millennium Institute has uncovered mass die-offs among skuas, a predatory seabird native to the region. The discovery marks the furthest south the virus has ever been recorded, signaling a new threat to the delicate Antarctic ecosystem. Researchers warn that the virus poses a significant risk to biodiversity, with the potential to impact not just seabird populations, but also marine mammals.
The detection of avian flu in Antarctica has raised many concerns among all of us doing Antarctic research, because it poses a threat to biodiversity, affecting not only marine birds but also mammals.
The study, based on extensive fieldwork and laboratory analysis, confirms that H5N1 has migrated from South America to Antarctica, raising fears of further spread across the region.
No passado encontramos los primeros casos positivos,
Last year, we found the first positive cases but didn't observe any mortality. We conducted extensive sampling on the Antarctic Peninsula and around the continent. During the birds' breeding season this year, we observed mortality, mainly in skuas. These species feed on dead animals from the peninsula and can spread the virus to more distant places and other species.
H5N1 has already devastated bird populations worldwide, disrupting ecosystems and supply chains. Its presence in Antarctica raises further concerns about the risk of transmission to mammals, adding to the growing global efforts to track and contain the virus.
Tourists and locals in Tokyo have gathered to watch an early flowering variety of cherry blossoms in bloom. The delicate pink flowers are known worldwide as a Japanese national symbol, drawing thousands of tourists to the East Asian country yearly.
The blossoms, which are called sakura in Japanese, are tied to the country's history, culture, and identity, and are typically in bloom from the months of March to May. Delighted spectators flock to the Tokyo's Ueno Park to drink in the view of white and pink petals of an early flowering variety currently in bloom. For some tourists, it was a first-time experience, and for others, it was an opportunity to capture memories as they posed for photographs in the park.
This is the first time I've seen them. I don't think they are fully bloomed yet, but they are very beautiful indeed. So yeah, they are good for pictures.
It's warm and the cherry blossom here, it's beautiful. So yeah, we are enjoying it very much.
We want to see the full bloom, and the forecast say it's next week. Yes, we see it next week.
In addition to public watching, some Japanese also celebrate the blossom season by holding flower watching parties known as hanami. Originally used to divine the year's harvest, the sakura has come to embody wabi-sabi philosophy and Shinto ideals of impermanence, hope, and renewal, and are now one of Japan's most iconic natural symbols.
That's all for now. Stay tuned for more updates and have a wonderful morning.